my name is Amanda Kaufman.
And I'm Chris Lavelle.
And we are talking to you this week on the Crush Method Show. Thank you so much for joining us for our continued conversation on resistance and
resilience.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So last week we were talking about resistance when it came to prospecting in your business. If there's one thing that I've noticed in a lot of the coaches that come to us for support and just general conversations in the forums, if you will, there's just this overall tendency to experience a lot of resistance when it comes to just reaching out and meeting people and continuously doing that follow-up and that follow-through that you can have people joining you for fit or sales conversations such that you have plenty of coaching clients.
Absolutely. That was the prospecting we talked about last time.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about some strategies that you can use to help with that, because that's truly the big gap for most people when they're building out their small business. And actually, that doesn't matter whether you're a coach or an expert. That's true if you're in network marketing. That's true if you're in any other kind of business. This follow through and prospecting kind of piece of things is usually an area where a lot of resistance shows up and a lot of resilience can be required. Yeah. So today we wanted to dig in even deeper. So what are we talking about today, Chris?
Well, you mentioned last time we're going to talk about mindset versus
motivation.
And got to be honest, when we first thought about that idea, I was like, wait, aren't they the same thing? And then you had a really great discussion about that. And it's come up in some other places for you and I as well in the business.
Absolutely.
So not necessarily the same thing.
Not necessarily. So we work a lot with coaches. So we work a lot with people who work a lot with mindset. And mindset is really the filter that we're looking at the world through. It's the perspectives we're applying in a given situation or an aspect of a situation.
Could be negative or positive.
It could be constructive or destructive.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think pretty much everyone would agree that when you have a really negative mindset, what can typically happen is that it's a breeding ground for more resistance.
Absolutely.
Right? That's when we can maybe experience a lot of like heaviness and slowness in what we're trying to do, procrastination and waiting to go for that thing and putting it off, or maybe just feeling like this feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you're just slogging through like you're up to your hips in mud, right? That's what that can feel like. Conversely, when you're in a really positive mindset, I mean, how does that feel?
Oh, well, you could take on all kinds of things. Your mind is more creative. There really are no stopping problems. There are just new opportunities. That's what it could look like for some.
Right. So, when you're feeling inspiration or you're feeling flow, these are really good indicators that you've got a really rock and roll positive mindset kind of set in and ready to support you.
Does that mean you have to have a positive mindset?
Aha, here's the distinction, right? So motivation is actually not mindset.
Help me understand what you mean by that.
Motivation is really our urge to take action. That's basically what it is. It's the urge to take action. So let me ask you something, Chris. If you put your hand on a hot stove, would you be motivated to remove that hand?
Oh, absolutely.
I'd
be taking some action.
You'd be taking some action. Now, let me ask you this. Would you be in a positive mindset when your hand is getting fried on that
It would
stove
probably be quite negative, actually, in that case.
Right. So in high performance, they found that there are 6 key habits that differentiate high performers from average performers or low performers.
Okay.
And one of the key habits is actually the habit of necessity.
Okay.
And I like to think about the relationship between necessity and motivation more so than the relationship between mindset and motivation.
Okay. Well, I guess you could be motivated to take action, but still be negative.
Exactly.
Have a negative mindset.
Exactly. So I'm getting a little dark side of the force today because I think it's important to acknowledge that when it comes to mindset, and it comes to our perception of the world around us and our energy is fleeting. It's actually really fluid. So it's constantly changing. And the more we can do to elevate our energy, the better. But it's unrealistic to expect that our energy is always going to be in the state of magic and flow and amazingness.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
We have kind of a set point that we tend to return to, and we can do things to raise the set point, but this expectation of having a mindset that's, sunshine, roses, and
total abundance.
Puppies and total abundance 100% of the time, I think is actually a reason why a lot of coaches in particular get stuck.
Well, they feel, I should be absolutely abundant. It's only possibilities. And then when they don't quite feel that, they allow that to slow their motivation. But it doesn't mean that it's the same thing.
Exactly. Now, I will totally agree all day long that mindset affects your motivation.
It does make it a little easier when you have a positive mindset.
Absolutely. However, I've also noticed that some very motivated people can be kind of grumpy.
Oh, yeah. We've run into, I've been motivated at times. I've been a little grumpy, so I get it.
So now, I'm not saying that it's a good plan to be a grumpy Gus the entire time that you're trying to take action on things.
Well, nobody likes to be around that, so it's maybe not necessarily very motivating for others' mindsets.
And maybe not even sustainable.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you're experiencing a very negative mindset a lot of the time, that they've actually shown that can affect you physically. It can affect your health, your well-being, even your life expectancy.
Affects your physical energy, your emotional energy. Yeah.
Exactly. But when we were talking about this with our students in the Crush Method Inner Circle, it really kind of was a bit of a mind crank for a lot of us as we were having this conversation, because we realized that when we're experiencing a negative mindset, it's our ability to tap into the motivation despite the lack of mindset preparation that allows us to shift the mindset and then reinforce back into the motivation.
Absolutely.
So I like to call it a downshift.
Ooh.
So if you are a person who has some other source of income, for example, maybe you've got a job now and you haven't made the leap, or maybe you've got another person in your life who is contributing their income and you've got some runway, or maybe you're like a lot of people that we work with who this is their next career and they've got a bit of a nest egg that they can rely on while they're making the leap. Here's the challenge, right? And I just want to qualify. I am not one of those people that's like, if you're taking this seriously as an entrepreneur, you should just throw it all in a chuck-it bucket and just go for it, man. Eat ramen noodles if you have to, man.
That works for some, but that's not what we're advocating.
No, be a responsible human, right? Yeah. And that nest egg, be aware, can actually eradicate or remove a lot of your sense of necessity.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I've got a fallback. So
Yes.
you haven't burned the boats in that case.
You haven't burnt the boats. Now, like I said, burning the boats, you do not have to physically burn the boats.
That's true. We're not advocating that.
Please don't do that, right? However, you can mentally burn the boats.
Yep.
You can work on, what's my real motivation for getting here? What do I really want to accomplish? If money was no object or obstacles, resistance was no object, what would I be making happen? That's one question. But why is it important? Why do I really need to go after that thing? And what happens if I don't?
Oh, that's you might initially think, that's kind of a negative mindset. No. You're understanding what's motivating you. And that's what we're after with this part of the discussion, is really understanding your motivation. You can be motivated by a sense of potential loss. That doesn't make you negative. That makes you finding a motivational tool to leverage.
I think that's so huge. And I think there have been times, definitely in the past few years as we've been working on this journey together, that there have been very negative moments.
There have been, hey.
There have been scary
absolutely.
moments, right? Where, the cash flow didn't quite work out the way we planned
Some
it.
process we enacted or a solution didn't quite work out like we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. Disappointment shows up all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And if we allow that disappointment to just affect the mindset and then let the motivation completely follow, what happens is inaction and excuse. Right? And
Absolutely.
when we allow that to happen over and over again, ultimately you start getting the results basically that you were fearing that you were going to get.
Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I think it's really important to have guardrails. So motivational guardrails, if you will. So
okay, how might that work?
So here's how it really shows up for me, like huge lately. Is I actually have the biggest Post-its known to man on the wall there. They're massive.
Big ones. They're actually really cool.
They're really, really cool. And I had a big fat felt marker on them.
Mm-hmm.
And those Post-its have statements about what I am working towards accomplishing. And I review those every single day.
Yeah, they're very easy to see every day. And those set a foundational underpinning for your motivation.
Exactly.
Our light is
Our
blinking
light's
on us.
blinking.
There we
There we
go.
go.
Oh, just tap it. Yeah.
Just tap it. It's the best solution. So with having that reminder every day, what it's reinforcing is it as a new set point in my head.
Yep.
So I'm motivated to get to a certain level of revenue, for example. And I look at that number, and it's a higher number than I've ever actually achieved before. But in some respects, it's a negative motivation, because when I'm not hitting that number, I'm like, ugh, like I really want to get the number,
That's
right?
That's right.
And then when I can get myself to choose mindsets of like, now how am I going to get that number? Bringing curiosity into the equation.
More of a positive mindset, maybe.
Coming
Curious
up with
mindset.
options and curiosity and getting into flow. That's where some of the real magic can happen. But in terms of getting started, what I've found is that if I don't have those guardrails of
Those reminders,
then I don't necessarily show up and perform the way that I could.
So having those reminders helps Amanda in this example reduce the resistance. And it also helps her over time build resilience towards achieving those goals. So very helpful.
I know. So when we're thinking about motivation and mindset, snapping our fingers and changing our mindset doesn't happen too often. We usually have to cultivate it. We have to pause. We have to do something about it.
So it's helpful to have processes in support of that, like Amanda's mentioned.
But remember, you need to have that motivation built in regardless. Your sense of necessity, your sense of why. Gail Hyatt, who is the wife of a pretty prominent personal development dude named Michael Hyatt, she always says, we lose our way when we lose our why. Right? So she's not saying we lose our way when we lose our energy.
Or if we have a bad morning, or stump our toe, or have a good day and good morning.
Yeah, exactly. We lose our way when we lose our why. So it's really important that even in the down days, you know why you're doing this so that you can tap into motivation when the mindset's not there.
Yep, and that helps you show up consistently.
Fantastic. So next week, we're going to keep going with this conversation. And I'm just checking our notes. What do we do? We're going to be talking about staying resilient when it comes to your physical self and your physical environment. It's going to be both a little bit our expert here on
vitality,
on working out and vitality.
Exercise, yeah.
But we'll talk about just general environment as well and how that can introduce or eliminate resistance as well. So we'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this with your friends if you think it might be really helpful. Get motivated. Do something really cool today.
Yeah. Change your mindset and have some motivation.
I love it.
Bye.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning into this week's The Crush Method video blog. I'm Amanda Kaufman.
And I'm Chris Lavelle. We loved having you here.
Be sure to subscribe to receive more goodies in your inbox every week and share with others you know who are eager to learn more about building their coaching and expert business.
And don't forget to leave a comment below to share your own experiences to inspire and lift others on this journey.
And check out our podcast on iTunes called The Crush Method Show so we can join you on your commutes and workouts.